Hi, I'm Rick Jansen and this is my fly tying channel. This video is part of a series on the mayfly. If you wish to see a video on tying the Calabetus nymph, you can click the link in the upper right corner and then return here. Next to the Calabetus, the canis family of mayflies is a much less known mayfly in British Columbia. That's because it's a lot less widespread than the Calabetus and of a much smaller size. However, as anglers, it's worth our while to pay attention to this little bug. That's because when it is present, it can be the most prominent hatch on a piece of water. So what sets the canis family apart? Well, besides being smaller, the emergers or nymphs and adults are of a distinct set of colors compared to the Calabetus. So let's take a look today at the canis family of mayflies. Today's topic, how to imitate the canis nymph. Welcome to my fly bench. Let's take a quick look at the material. Welcome to my fly bench. Let's take a quick look at the materials you're going to need to tie the canis mayfly nymph. If you like this video, please tap that subscribe button on the bottom right of your screen. Thank you. Into my vise I have a Togen's number 16 2x long curved nymph hook. To that I'm going to add a small amount of lead wire to the body of the fly, just to give it the ability to sink more quickly to the fish's strike zone and to build up the thorax region of the fly. About 5 or 6 turns, that's all that's needed, not a lot. There we go, we'll tuck that in there. We got about 6 turns in there. We jam it together with our thumbnails. Then I'll bring in my 6/0 light Cahill tying thread and secure that behind the eye and come in toward the lead and over the lead toward the tail of it, and then secure it back there and cut off the excess thread. Now that I've got the thread at the back, I can give that lead a yank and it should just pop off. We'll build a bit of a ramp there for the thread, for the coming up to the lead, over the lead, and then back again. All right. Now that'll bring us back to the bend of the fly and the attachment of our first natural material, which is our guinea fowl. I'm using a guinea fowl for the tail, and what I do is I select out exactly 3 fibers with my bodkin. If I can find my bodkin, there it is. And I poke the bodkin in there, I get it supported and select out 3 fibers. I've got 4 there, so I'm going to spare that one out. I mean, if you get 4, you can always just yank the 4th one off after you've tied it in. But I like to go with the 3. And then I grab those 3 and cut them off for attachment to the fly. We'll get those in there. They have these canis mayflies have a very prominent tail that doubles the length of the body, so don't be shy on the length. You needn't be shy on the length there. I like to go in behind the tail with a wrap of thread to cock them up like that, and now we've got them secured, and I still have 4. I must have had 5 there to begin, so as I said, I'll just select one out and give it a little yank. There we go. We got it pared down to 3. Our ribbing will be formed of gold wire, and I'm using small gold wire. On the smaller flies I'd go with extra small or fine, but for a number 16 you can get away with small. So we'll just give that a loose wrap, pull it back, and then secure the end of it. And there we go. Now I'm going to trim off the excess of that tail. I'm not worried about this tail being dived down route. We can be massaged into position later. For the back, the shell back on this fly is scud back. It says 1/8 inch here. This is the 3 millimeter. Now they're measured in millimeter. and for the smaller flies I'd go 2 millimeter. And what I'll do is I'll take a piece and I'll trim the end of it to a point to aid the tying in of the material. I want to give it a nice narrow point there. If I can find it and control it with my fingers, trim it to a nice fine point. There, get these smaller flies, you want to pay attention to little details like this to aid the tying process. And everything you can do to help attach the materials more simply and cleanly is going to help you out in the long run. So I've got a point trimmed there, and I'll use that. I'll put the point on my side of the hook as I bring the thread around under tension to grab it, and then it ends up on the back of the hook. And get the second piece tied in. I've got a little nick in there. So what I'll try to do is a loose loop method to grab that. There we go. Nope, not working, not happy with it. Undoing it and trying again. So you don't like it, try it again. So I'm going to cut off that end and repoint it. These little flies present some challenges to us older tyers, maybe the younger tyers too. We try to get that, overcome those, and might have to redo things a couple of times before you get it just the way you want. I'll try to get that cut to a point. There we go. I've got a point on there. That should do the trick. My side of the hook, tension brings it to the back of the hook. Okay, so our main body material is hare's ear dubbing in the natural tan. That provides the right color to imitate the natural. And so again, with dubbing, less is more. And what I do is I spin an extremely sparse noodle and start wrapping forward. And as I need more dubbing, I take it from my left hand, pinch a small, almost hardly more than dust, and spin it on there using a little dubbing wax to aid the spinning process. Don't worry about those long fibers, as we will trim those out later using a pair of scissors. We don't need those extra legs back there, but we want the fuzziness of the dubbing to represent the gills on the abdomen, and it gives it the right color. So here we go, we're dubbing it forward as we go up to about the 3/4 point on the fly. About 3/4 forward, don't want to crowd that head too much. And I think we've got enough there. We're just going to wrap that into place and then bring our tail materials forward, those layered shellback materials and rib. Okay, we'll bring the scud back forward now as a shellback. I got to sort out some dubbing here that got in the wrong places. There we go. And we bring that shellback up over top and under tension with my right hand. Now I will secure it with my left on the thread, keeping that shell back on top of the hook so it doesn't spin off to one side. 3 or 4 good wraps behind, a couple in front, and we've got that locked into place. And that provides the darker dorsal surface, the darker tan on the dorsal surface, as opposed to the lighter tan on the ventral surface that is represented by the dubbing. 3 solid wraps of the gold wire will provide the segmentation and reinforce that scud back so it doesn't go anywhere as we're fishing this fly. And give it some good wraps there in front and behind, cutting it off with our dedicated scissors, and we're ready to go with our head and wings. Head and legs, I mean. Doing a little premature trimming here just to bring things into shape. I'm using partridge for the legs, and we'll select one of these smaller feathers for this fly, this small fly. I've got 2 there, and I like to pick one that has a prominent yellow stripe down the center of the stem there. And what I'll do then is I take my hackle pliers and secure those right to the tip, and then pull my fibers of my feather back that I want to form the legs. There we go, we get those trained back, and then we can let go with the hackle pliers. And I will tie that in slightly on my side of the hook, so as I wrap it, it brings it to the top of the hook. Just do a little adjustment there, bringing it back and going back into the dubbing a little bit. So you want the concave side, or the underside of the feather, facing up. That way when you fold it over, the feather's facing the right way to form the legs. I just cut off those excess tips there, and we've got ourselves a set of legs going, ready to go. Credit to Davy McPhail for that method. That's where I first saw it. A great fly tyer out of the UK. And now for our head, our peacock herl. And we'll give that it's a nice bushy piece, got a lot of greenery to it. Bring that thread up to the eye and cut off the tag end. And now we'll turn our thorax region. Now some of my fibers got away on me there, and I just want to massage them back again. And we'll turn our thorax and head here with the peacock herl. Nicely done. A nice buggy looking head. And we'll bring that up to the eye and secure it and trap it with the thread. A couple of wraps behind, couple in front to lock it in. And now we simply fold this feather forward like a shellback, bringing back as many legs as we want. If you've got too many, you can send them back forward. If you've got not enough, you pull some more back. And so we get that into place there. Now take your time here. You've done a good job on the fly to this point. We don't want to mess things up here. So we're just gently massaging the right number of fibers back and forward to form the legs of this mayfly. We get them in the right place. A couple of loose wraps, one loose wrap here, and then what I'll do is I will center the feather by pulling on the stem back towards me and then secure that in place. We've got a nice set of double legs on each side. We can cut off the excess there. And then a touch of brushable super glue. I like to lift the thread above the hook so it drips down into the wraps. And then give it a couple of wraps with that so it cements it into place, and to whip finish to complete the fly. Other than our haircut that we're going to give it in a second here. 4 wraps of the whip finish. 3, 4. Pull that down tight. Make sure it isn't going to go anywhere. We'll give that a cut. Release it from its bonds. And now go through it and just picking out some of these longer hairsier fibers that we don't want in there to confuse the issue with the fish. Give it a little haircut. I love the look of this fly, the darker dorsal area, the lighter ventral area, the fuzziness to represent the gills, the 3 tails, and that wing method from Davy McPhail that gives us our legs, and then the darker thorax and head region of the fly. A fantastic little representation of the canis mayfly nymph. If you have those in your local waters, you know that they're there, the smaller mayflies. You're certainly going to want a copy of this in your fly box to fool some of those trout. If you like this video and you enjoyed it, please feel free to share it with your friends. And I'm wishing you tight lines and good luck. Thank you for watching.